My 29 female, husband 34, has a preteen son, Luca, from a Fling, Shauna. My husband and Shauna are not on good terms. She and my husband were never in a relationship, but agreed to co-parent. However, Shauna got into a relationship with another man who did not want Luca in his home, and she decided to stop picking up Luca when he was a toddler. I was introduced to Luca when he was a toddler, and we got along great. Luca and I share a strong bond, with me taking on a sort of parental role for him, as he started calling me mommy and mom when I got pregnant. Being financially comfortable, my husband and I tend to spoil him a lot, and his clinginess has reached a point where he checks on me in the middle of the night since I'm now pregnant. The love and indulgence extend from my in-laws to my own family. He eagerly looks forward to Fridays at my parents' place for grandma's cooking and treats and gifts from grandpa. About a year ago, Shauna aggressively tried to take custody of Luca. We were advised to give in to her demands, which was a mistake, and she has visitation every other Sunday. Every time he has to go to Shauna, he screams and kicks. He doesn't want to go, and the one time we went with him, he told Shauna that he hated her. Shauna always thought Luca clinging to me was creepy, so she brought in her mystery psychologist, who suggested that my family and I step back, blaming us for babying him and having zero discipline at home, even though he's totally different with us. My husband got suspicious about his conclusion, and we got our own therapist. We only had a few sessions, but she said our home situation seemed stable and loving. My sister's friend, who also knows Shauna, contacted me. She basically said the same as the psychologist. She went all out on me and said that it was my fault. I just agreed with them. I'm entirely done with this situation. I don't have the energy for this anymore. I'm 38 weeks pregnant. The baby will be here any day. I'm just done. Usually my husband and I do everything together for Luca. Against my husband's wishes, I decided to do what Shauna wanted and completely step back from Luca as a parental figure. Luca's not noticed anything and is completely fine. However, my husband, in-laws, and family are not happy with me. My mom literally comes to my home every day to talk to me about it. I want to focus on having the baby and not constantly being blamed for everything I do for Luca. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. There's no way I would let a deadbeat mother who chose a man and abandoned her child, whom I've been raising since he was a toddler, come back and dictate to me and my husband my relationship with my son. I would not step back, and if anything, I would go mama bear on her and not make him see her if he didn't want to. You put in all the hard work with his father while the egg donor was out living her best life, and now she thinks she can just become his mom again after 6 years away? Put Luca first. Screw everyone else. You either tell them to pound sand and be his mom, like you've been so far, or choose to be a crap human and abandon the poor child as his genetic donor did. Get Luca with a therapist and get documentation that going to his bio mom's house is detrimental to him. She looks like she's waiting for the first viable opportunity to drop the stepchild and focus on her real kid. I can't think of any other reason to act so cowardly and cruel suddenly. She's 100% using this as an excuse to abandon Luca now that her real child is about to be born. I mean, they could take some of that financial comfort and get an enforceable custody order, but I guess pretending that emotional abuse is just fine is easier. I'd rather die than to do this to my stepdaughter. I disagree. OP's not the idiot. You're assuming malice when exhaustion is just as likely a reason, all while growing another human being beset by the ex and the ex's minions about how it's OP's fault that Luca doesn't love his absent bio mom the way she thinks she should be loved. She doesn't have the energy to fight or deal with that and is hoping by taking a strategy of appeasement, she can end it. I don't think she's looking to dump Luca at this point. She's heavily pregnant and exhausted. My wife and I are in our mid-30s, and we've been together for 8 years, married for 4. We're both from California. My wife's only sibling is her sister, who recently moved back to California from Virginia. My wife's sister and her husband and their 3 kids live about an hour away. It's easier for my wife to visit them than vice versa, because they'd be lugging around 3 kids, while we don't have any kids yet. So my wife typically visits them 1 to 2 times a week for weekday dinner or a shopping trip on the weekend. I join every 3 weeks or so for dinner. I have 0 problems with my sister-in-law and her family. They're good people, and if anything, I'm glad my wife has her best friend so close by. So for context, my entire life, I've always had really bad colds. My body just shuts down for 4 to 5 days. My wife and the closest people in my life, siblings, parents, and some lifelong friends, have known about this. The incident is this. Yesterday, my wife and I went to my sister-in-law's house for dinner. When we got there, all 3 kids had colds, coughing, runny noses, sore throats, fatigue, all of that. I immediately panicked internally and thought, darn it, here we go, and thought I'd try my best to stay away from the kids. Then I hear my wife say something like, "Aw, honey, I know you're sick. Your mama's been telling me about it all week," to her niece. That really made me angry. My wife knew the kids were sick and knew how horrible it is for me when I'm sick, but she didn't bother to tell me. I pulled her to the side for a second, and she basically said, "Listen, just don't go near the kids. I didn't tell you because I knew you wouldn't come, and it'd kill the vibe. Relax. I'm sure they're not contagious. Now enjoy the night," and walked away. It's not even the fact that the kids are sick, but the fact that 1, she purposely didn't tell me, and 2, she was shutting me down. So I got the keys and left. I know my sister-in-law and her husband well enough to know they'd drop my wife back at home, but I was just seeing red and was way too angry to have stayed. I woke up this morning and my wife is freaking angry. My sister-in-law's husband's even more annoyed than my sister-in-law. He's saying I'm a pathetic person to leave my wife and take the car. Not the idiot. They could have rescheduled the dinner. Why they decided your health wasn't important is beyond me. 0 empathy. You need to have a serious talk with your wife. What she did was unforgivable. She knows how sick you get. She knew the children were all sick, and she still decided for her selfish reasons to expose you to their germs. Not what you do to someone you love. And if I were you, I'd be furious too. His leaving was the serious talk that they needed to have. The wife and his family have spoken several times about his health issues, and that's why she kept quiet. He reacted exactly the way I would have. Next time their kids and family come over, wait until you've hugged and kissed everyone and let them know you've had a horrible stomach bug for the last 24 hours. I'm vindictive. Who invites people over when their kids are all sick and your wife saying, "I'm sure they're not contagious"? Like, how does she think they all got sick in the first place? That's the unforgivable part. She, knowing full well the kids were sick, did not feel any guilt for showing up to a dinner that could have been postponed or canceled and could have gotten you sick. And then to put the cherry on top of terrible, she didn't want you to leave. Like, she wanted you to get sick. I mean, in sickness and in health doesn't include getting your spouse sick by being willfully negligent. About 2 months ago, my wife, 38, and I, male 41, learned that my stepdaughter, teen, was bullying a girl in school over being poor, getting free lunch at school, and not being able to afford necessities, such as her own car and stuff. Our daughter was kind of spoiled. We provided her with everything she needed, an allowance and a part-time job at my company, a small family service business. We've been considered middle class, doing things others weren't as privileged to do, such as buying our daughter a car on her recent birthday. I come from a family of immigrants and was considered in poverty growing up. After learning about the bullying, I was furious, as we didn't think we raised her to behave that way. She was in honors and top ranking in her class. I tried to talk to our daughter about why she would do that, and I was disturbed to learn it was because she viewed that girl as trailer trash, which irritated me. The girl, as I understand it, is very smart and works hard. She bought her own beater car and works 2 jobs. She considered the money our family had as our family's money, so I put her in her place and I told her that it wasn't her money, but her mom's and my money. I decided from that point on, I would no longer spoil my daughter. We ended up taking away her latest iPhone and replacing it with my old iPhone 8 by switching phones with me with a talk and text plan. We took away her family credit card and sold her car, along with her MacBook and other luxuries. I also told her to find a job without nepotism and work a minimum wage job like everyone else her age does, because I'm done giving her handouts if she's going to act entitled. Fast forward 2 months later, she's working at a fast food restaurant, with us driving her around. She doesn't talk to me unless she needs something like a ride, but she's very upset with me. My wife feels like I'm taking this too far because it affects her social status, grades, and school. I, however, feel like she needs to be humbled because I can't have a daughter who'll disrespect people just because of the amount of money they have. I also feel that her behaving this way will affect her younger sister, Tween, and how she perceives the world. Am I the idiot for punishing my teen stepdaughter after we found out she was bullying a kid for being poor? Edit. I would also like to add we took away her MacBook, but she still has access to the family computer in the house. She still has Wi-Fi access at the house. However, we did throttle her speed because high-speed internet is a privilege. She has fast enough internet to do homework and watch videos that aren't in HD, like Netflix and stuff. She also isn't failing. She went from a straight A student to mostly B's and 2 A's, which I still find great. Definitely not the idiot, and I'm proud of you for standing up to your stepdaughter and giving her a taste of what life is really like. You may just have saved her from that path to the bad place that she was on. She acts very privileged and entitled from what you described. It's good for her to see how the other half lives. It is very eye-opening. I would continue this path for at least a year so she doesn't slide back. Hopefully you'll have a much more respectful and kind stepdaughter. It really is too bad other parents don't do more stuff like this to their children instead of spoiling them rotten and then wondering why they're in jail. If her social status is based on belittling those less fortunate, then screw her social status. You should also make her volunteer at a homeless shelter or serve meals to the poor. Your daughter needs to learn empathy and humility. As for your wife, she needs to get a clue. Taking away and selling her luxury items and making her work a typical teenage job is not affecting her grades. Her grades come from the effort she puts in. By dropping her grades, she figured she could get the punishments to end. I'm sorry she was spoiled and entitled in the first place, but I'm glad you took a real issue with it. In the end, I hope these life lessons shape who she becomes. Buckle up for at least a rocky year. I 100% agree. However, I've held the belief that if someone is bullying, it could be because they're being bullied or there's some other negative influence in their life. Most happy and mentally healthy kids and teens won't participate in such activities unless other influences drive the behavior. Is there anything you can think of that may cause this behavior? I do see there may be a need for some counseling. Not sure where to begin with this. I guess last night, one of the more popular frats on campus was having a Christmas on the beach themed party. So all around the bar area were girls dressed in bikinis with vague Christmas themes. My roommate was dating this total nut job named Sydney, and as far as I knew, they were broken up. Well, at about 2 a.m., he bombs through the door with Sydney and her friend in tow, both dressed like elves, with way too much skin showing. My roommate and Sydney went to his room and still haven't come out yet. I was playing Fortnite, and the other girl said she was Sydney's friend and the designated driver and was stuck. She asked if I wouldn't mind if she charged her phone and hung out until she knew Sydney was okay. I said fine. Maybe 15 minutes later, she said something like, "I know this is weird for both of us, but I'm not here by choice. I just don't want to bail on my friend, but sitting here with a guy I don't really know in a bikini is weird and I'm cold. Do you have some sweats I can borrow? I see you every Monday and Wednesday, and I promise I'll give them back." I told her no, I wasn't comfortable with that. She asked if I at least had a blanket. I found one in my roommate's spare room, but it was really small and I said I was sorry. It was the best I could do. She fell asleep on the couch and I went to bed. My older sister came to pick me up for breakfast, and she saw the girl sleeping on the couch and asked why a half-naked girl was sleeping under a baby blanket. In the car, I told her what happened, and she basically got so mad at me, saying I had about 30 opportunities to be a really decent guy, and I blew it. She said it sounded like the girl was trying to do the right thing by her friend, and I could have let her use sweats. I could have let her sleep in my bed while I took the couch. I could have said that she should go home and I'd drive Sydney home. But basically, I was an idiot because I left an apparently nice girl in a vulnerable position, and I didn't even care. She said that I need to grow up to have friends and have some empathy if I ever want girls to like me. She had no idea if that girl was into me or not, but I missed a great practice round of treating someone in a nice way that they may reciprocate. When we got back to my house, my roommate, Sydney, and the girl were gone. There was a sticky note on my door that said, "Thanks for letting me stay here. Sorry it was weird. Please say hello sometimes. Nat." My sister said this was even more proof that I acted like an antisocial weirdo, and she was just being nice, and the reason I've never had a girlfriend is the way I acted last night. Sister says I need to go up to her on Monday, apologize, offer to buy her lunch, and try to have a friendly conversation with her. I wanted to see people's opinions on that too. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot, and judgmental to boot. I love how you mentioned it was a beach party, so all the girls were in bikinis, but Sydney and her designated driver friend were the only ones you shamed and said they had way too much skin showing. Dude, everyone was in bikinis. Secondly, your sister was right. You were neither empathetic nor a gentleman. Third, she wasn't asking for a name brand ski jacket. She was asking for sweats. Exactly. Were you obligated to help her? No. Technically, you're not obligated to help anyone. But this line of thinking is very selfish, which makes you an idiot. It would have been very easy to help and you didn't. Hopefully you can learn from this in the future. And she literally sounds so nice. That makes it even worse. She was staying at her friend's ex-boyfriend's place just to make sure her intoxicated friend was safe. The girl deserves a medal for that level of dedication. I'd be happy to be friends with Nat. OP, not so much. Dude. Literally, everyone's telling you, you're the idiot. Any human with a shred of decency, humanity, and common sense is saying you're the idiot. You need to be better as a person. There's a final verdict that you were the idiot, and hopefully when you need help, someone who can offer you a small kindness refuses you, so you know exactly how small and alone that poor woman felt. Update. I said hello to Natalie this morning. She was very nice and accepted my apology. She also said she was sorry for invading my space on Friday. She talks a lot, which I guess I would usually find pretty annoying, but I didn't seem to mind with her. It turns out we both have a break between classes, so we just stood there talking for about 20 minutes. Well, she talked, and I just nodded my head. When it was time to leave, she said it was a really nice conversation, which made zero sense because I didn't say much. But I went against my instinct to correct her. She said she'd like to do it again sometime, and I said I would too.